one for the younger age groups, mostly high school graduates, occasionally people who were in college and took a break, but mostly fresh out of high school. As you can see on the screen, it's for 17 through 20-year-olds. It lasts about 10 months, although that varies kind of year to year and where you are. You live in a unit house with other participants and also one or two adults who are your unit leaders and kind of there to make sure you don't like burn down the house or anything. You work with a local nonprofit, usually pretty chill job, and you are connected with this church congregation in the area where you go to church every week and maybe do activities and kind of have a community. So we have a couple of pictures throughout and also some like explanation of what's happening. We said we were both in the same unit, but different years. So I was there 2022 to 23, and Sean was there 23 to 24. So this was my unit. At the end of the year, every year, we take a end of the year trip to kind of celebrate being done. My unit went to Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. This is just the first day. We were camping because it was cheap, but it was raining when we got there. So we had to make dinner over the fire in the rain without the tent set up. So on the left, you can see me eating the leftover pasta out of the pot with a serving spoon. That's a fond memory of mine. And then on the right, you can see people just under the back of the car because it kind of was miserable out and we wanted to stay dry. But it was still a good trip.
So, like I said, we were both in Colorado Springs. There's different placement locations. Currently this year there's Alaska and Colorado Springs. But that meant that we got snow, and so this was in our backyard. The person in the orange was our leader, Travis. He was reading the Bible in the snow, as one does. I was more appropriately dressed for the weather, I would like to say, but also enjoying the snow.
This is from my year. The unit in Colorado Springs goes to the Colorado Relief Sale every year, and one of the traditions there is apple cider pressing. So this is my unit doing some pressing, which was fun. We don't do that. I'm from Kansas. That doesn't happen at the Kansas Relief Sale, really. So it was a nice experience.
So another cool opportunity, this one specifically relates to being in Colorado Springs, is we are connected with Rocky Mountain Mennonite Camp. So we would go up for like a work and play weekend where you volunteer and then also get to have like a day to just hang out and have fun. And so these were some of the random tasks. I found myself in the back of the truck a lot with different supplies. But it's a really fun way to connect with the broader community that comes out for these weekends and just get to hang out at camp.
Okay, so some actual details of what you do. What could a day look like? So my day started around 6:30, kind of early, but I was working. And I'd get up and get ready, eat breakfast. Every morning I had a bagel sandwich because we got free bagels from Einstein Bros Bagels in town, which was very nice. I would then bike to work. I worked at Grescio Housing, which was a nonprofit affordable housing developer in town. So I was doing maintenance work. If you like that sort of thing, you'd probably enjoy it. It was a lot of like power tools and fixing things kind of all day, driving around town in a big Chevy work van from like 2001, older than I am, which was interesting, but I never crashed. I was a little scared sometimes. I'm amazed they let me drive. 18-year-old, I would not have done it if I were them, but that's okay. And I worked all day. It was like an 8-hour day. Biked home around 4 o'clock, got back, would usually go to my room and just lay down for a second because I was tired. Then I would usually get on my phone, if I'm being honest. We'd sit around outside in the living room, kind of chat. We'd make dinner. You take turns making dinner every day. We'd eat, and then we'd just kind of hang out. One of the really nice things about doing that sort of thing, like taking a gap year and working, is you can actually relax. Like in high school, I had no free time at all. And in college, I have very little free time. But when you're working a full-time job, surprisingly, you have way more time to just like hang out and do nothing, which was very nice to do for a year.
So my days were pretty similar. I worked at a homeless shelter called Family Promise, and it was a unique situation. It wasn't like new families coming in every day. It was the same 4 or 5 families, and it was a program. We'd work with them for a few months, and they'd be hosted by churches. So I did a lot of the like media work for their program. I got to interact with the families a lot. I knew going into it I had an interest in doing elementary ed, So I was very excited for opportunities to just hang out with the kids from these families. So I worked from 9 to 5, and again, I would get ready in the mornings, bike to work. It depends how you get places. Some locations you would do public transportation, some you do drive. For us, we could both bike to our placement. And then after work, come home. If it was my night to make dinner, I would make dinner. Each unit chooses how they want to split up all the responsibilities, but for us, we just had like 2 people would be on for a week, and then you would kind of alternate those days being like the main cook and then the like assistant. So you would plan your meals. So if it was my day to make dinner, I would do that and then clean up. There's 2 things we'll talk about in a little bit, learning components and faith components, but those would sometimes happen in the evenings. Other than that, like Micah said, just kind of hang out in the evenings, try some new hobbies, things like that. So these are a few pictures from a day in the life of Shawna. You can see cooking dinner. We had a lot of tofu. The food budget, particularly for us in Colorado Springs, was not very high, but it was still fine. We still had lots of good food, and we got lots of things donated to us, but we had a lot of tofu. That was a personal choice, though. And then the middle picture is me at work. I had a desk. That's where I'd spend majority of my day. And then the last picture is me sharing my learning component, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah.
My unit did not eat that much tofu. That was just a Shawna thing. She's kind of weird. This is me at work. Yeah. One thing to know about Colorado is that every year they get a huge number of moths, carpenter moths. And so one of my jobs, pretty much on a weekly basis, was to go around the office, which you can see me in, and open up all of the lights and like pick the moths out of the lights and vacuum them up. So this is what I did for like a day every week with my vacuum backpack. Wasn't my favorite part of the job, but my friend took this picture because she said it looked like a Ghostbuster. And I felt like it was appropriate. It was a good time, though. It was kind of fun. I got good with the vacuum. This is actually another picture, 2 more pictures from an end-of-the-year trip. In Colorado, you do a lot of hiking. We spend a lot of time outdoors, but the best outdoors time was definitely the end-of-the-year trip at the Grand Tetons. If you haven't been out west, like past Colorado, you don't even know. But like, it's so cool. The mountains, it's just like giant rocks, like a mountain. It's crazy. I like it. And then this is, I forget exactly when, but we went somewhere and came back and were exhausted, and this was not staged. We were genuinely all just asleep on the couches, it felt really good. Oh, these are me again. More things we did just during like our time there. At one point we went down to Albuquerque, where there was another unit. There no longer is, RIP Albuquerque. But they do a hot air balloon festival every year, which is the photo on the right. And it's just like a bunch of hot air balloons. And we went and we biked out and we got to watch them take off. It was really cool. You don't see those very often, except for this thing. And then the picture on the left was at a protest that the unit went to, just to kind of take part in the broader city community. We were all kind of on the same page about a lot of things politically, so we could go do things like that, which was nice.
So learning and worship components, again, whichever unit you would be in, it kind of depends what that looks like in your week, but at least for my year, we would have one night a week where we would do a learning night and one night a week where we do like a worship night. And so this is just with your unit that you're living with, and it's kind of, we would take turns, again, on a rotation, and when it's your night to play on a learning component, you pick something you find interesting, something you know a lot about, something you want to learn more about, and then you share it with the unit. And usually it would come with like some sort of activity that you would do, so I think like one that we did was like a tea party, and so then we would talk about it, and then we had a tea party. And then worship nights were whatever you wanted that to be. For me and my unit, the other person who was in my unit, faith wasn't a huge part of his life, and so his would include like going for a hike or and like taking time to just reflect at the top or something like that. It could be reading a Bible verse, talking about it. It could be really whatever you wanted, but it was a cool way to like kind of be forced into like planning something, leading it for the group, and just bringing like the unit together in the evenings.
Yeah, I won't lie, these were some of my least favorite parts of Service Venture. Just like the stress of planning this thing for the night was not my favorite. But it was okay. Like I made it through, and everybody had to do them, so it was fine. But yeah, you could do really whatever you wanted. I think I did one week on a learning component on how to make rice properly, because I feel like everybody in the house was making rice wrong, and I wanted them to do it the right way, so I taught them. And like that was the whole thing. So it was a good opportunity, and it was fun. And yeah, worship, we had one person in the group who wanted to like do a Bible study. The rest of us were like, we can just kind of chat or do something else. So there was a good balance of like different kinds of worship.
So one of my learning components, this was around Halloween, I wanted to do spooky snacks. So we made like brain Rice Krispie treats, spiderweb pretzels, I don't know, fun things like that. And there was like a very small budget for different learning components or worship nights, so we could like buy the ingredients for the snacks we wanted to make. So yeah, that was fun. This does not relate to learning components or worship components, however. This was on our end of the year trip. During Service Adventure, you learn some good life skills, and I learned how to change a tire. We were on our end of the year trip. We went to Arizona my year, and we were like in the middle of nowhere, and I was sitting in the back of our van, and it just starts shaking, and I'm like, I mean, our van wasn't very good, so it wasn't that weird, but I was like, this seems a little more dramatic than usual. And then it got really dramatic, and we were like, okay, something's wrong. And yeah, our tire needed some assistance. So I learned how to do that process.
One thing that I think is worth mentioning about Service Adventure is that it's very much what you might call simple living. So there wasn't a lot of money in the house, but we made do. Like the van did kind of suck, but it could drive, usually. We got stranded once halfway up a mountain at night when it was like 30 degrees out, but we got picked up and all was well. Yeah, you make do. It's a good experience to learn how to kind of figure things out on your own without having your parents or their money to help you out.
So this was another picture from our end of the year trip. It doesn't really relate to anything. It was just fun. We were at it's a telephone booth, but it was called Telepoems, and so you could like call the number and it would read you a poem.
That is nice. Two more pictures from my year. As I said, we did a lot of hiking. On the left, that's called the Manitou Incline. It's in Manitou Springs, Colorado, and it's kind of like a super iconic hike. It's where there used to be a railroad up Pikes Peak, and they replaced it with a newer, better railroad, but they kept the tracks and turned it into a hiking trail. So it's about a mile horizontally and like 3,000 or 4,000 feet of climb. It's just like a bunch of stairs up the side of the mountain. So it's not fun, but it's kind of cool to do, and you feel very accomplished once you finish it. And then on the right, you can see that's us at the top of Pikes Peak, which we actually hiked from the backside, like the whole thing. It's nice to just be there and be able to do that kind of thing on a random Saturday. Like, no big deal, just go hang out on Pikes Peak. It's pretty fun. Okay.
So, to Service Adventure or not to Service Adventure, that is the question. So this is just kind of like our thoughts, reflections, would we recommend? So personally, I really enjoyed Service Adventure. Obviously, it wasn't always super fun, and it was hard first time moving out of my home, not living near my parents, living with these random people that I didn't know, but it taught me a lot of lessons, and I did have a lot of fun, and I made a lot of memories, as you guys could see. One of the things that was like a big takeaway for me was and so I learned how to make those relationships and to put in the work in those relationships by myself. Another thing for me was I learned, kind of like Micah said, how to have free time and what I actually like to do. In high school, I felt like I was always just school, work, homework, go to bed, kind of do the same thing over. So in the evenings, at the beginning, it was really hard because I was like, I don't know what I like to do if I don't have to like study for an exam or something. So I was able to really learn a lot of new things about myself, just how do I like to fill my time, what am I interested in, and those are still things that like now, even though I am busy in college, that I know I enjoy, and so I can try and make time for those things. And then briefly, I know college is kind of like, oh, does this mess with my chance to go to college, or what's the impact? And so for me personally, taking a gap year was just something that I have always wanted to do. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I need more time to figure out what I want to do next, because I knew that I wanted to study elementary education, and I knew I probably wanted to go to EMU. So I was actually able to apply to EMU the same time as all my friends during my senior year. And then once I got like accepted there, I just was able to defer a year. And so that means I could just kind of put everything on hold for a year. And then when I was done with Service Venture, just pick it all up. But I didn't have to worry about it. And it was very easy to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I won't lie to you. When I was in Colorado, I was not having a lot of fun. I got to like October of my term, like Halloween, and I was like, wow, I want to go home. And then I had to stay for another 8 months. So that wasn't great, but there were highlights, and looking back, I don't regret it at all. The issue for me was just kind of general dynamics, and my job, I was not a huge fan of, I won't lie. But in hindsight, I'm glad I did it. Like the experience I got, like Shawna said, being able to like gain intentional community and make your own. I think once you get to college, there are kind of two tracks, and one is to be like, I'm 18, I'm still a kid. Like, I'm not an adult yet, I'm in college, and kind of go about the next 4 years as if you're still a child, which a lot of people do, and it's not great. The other track is to try to grow as a person and like become an adult and relate with people on that level. And I think taking a year off and then getting that experience and the work really helped me do that and kind of, yeah, change my self-perception to one of someone who can be self-sufficient and actually like function as an adult. Because it's a weird shift if you don't get that time to kind of change your mindset. Yeah, on the topic of colleges, the Service Venture application is shorter than a college application. That's why I did it. It was a lot easier to do. And then I did my college applications the next year, and it worked out fine to an extent. But no, it did. It was fine. So I do recommend it. I think it's not for everybody necessarily, but if you're somebody who maybe isn't quite sure what you want to do, or you want to take some time off, you're super busy in high school like I was, and you want to have a break before going to college and being super busy again, it's a great opportunity. And you get to meet a lot of cool people. Like, I have a lot of good connections now because of having done it. So I do recommend. There's one more slide. Oh yeah. There's a QR code if you're interested. If you're graduating soon or just want to learn more about it, QR code, or just Google it, Mennonite Mission Network, Service Venture. It's all on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all we have.
That's all we have.